Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 714, 714, March the 7th, 2019, Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wow. So yesterday, a little bit of teaser on the title of the video. I asked who dropped the dime on Ocasio-Cortez. And I don't know if I perfectly well said it in yesterday's video, but what I'm talking about is that this issue with the campaign violation, this didn't just fall out of the sky. Somebody went and dug for that and found it. And I was suggesting who did it. And as I've suggested before, I think it was Pelosi. I mean, as I said, Pelosi would have a rough time hurting that wildcat. But on top of that, we have Cortez making her life miserable. And, quite honestly, sucking away a lot of attention from her. But I think probably the thing that probably sent Nancy through the roof was when Ocasio-Cortez came out and made the statement, "I'm the boss." That's the kind of language that'll drive a person like Pelosi insane. I'm sure when she heard Ocasio-Cortez say, "I'm the boss," that Pelosi probably said, "That's it, I'm done." And she probably called in her legal goons and said, "I don't know where it is, and I don't know what it is, but find it." And they did. I think it's Pelosi is behind dropping the dime on Ocasio-Cortez. And that's what I meant by that title yesterday in the video. Now, how many of you agree that it was probably a Democrat and most likely Pelosi that dropped the dime on Ocasio-Cortez and her campaign finance violations? Oh, I can't see all the hands out there, but I believe there's a few. Now, huge news day today. This is one of them days there's so much. I don't know how I'll get through it all. I'm going to give it my best shot. Some of it will probably bleed into tomorrow because there's so much going on today. But I just want to point out that this is a significant day in TowerGate history. Why is that? Well, because it was exactly 2 years ago today that I woke up on that Saturday morning about 9 o'clock, got a cup of coffee, got on my computer, and went to my news feed and started reading the news stories. And this was the beginning of TowerGate videos, because on that morning it was all over my news feed about Trump tweeting out that he had just learned that Obama had his wires tapped. And of course we know what happened all that day, people coming out and saying Trump's crazy and all this sort of thing. And as I've explained many times before, I thought to myself, you know, that's a pretty crazy thing. I mean, Trump's pretty wild, but he's not stupid. And to make a claim that the previous administration was surveilling you is a pretty tall claim. You better be able to prove something like that, or you're going to take a beating in the press. And so I thought, you know, I'll wait and see where this goes. So the next day I got up. It was Sunday, and it was still the talk of the town. It was on all the Sunday morning shows, and of course Trump was taking all kinds of abuse, people saying he's crazy and all this sort of thing. Of course now we know he wasn't crazy. In fact, he was under surveillance, and much, much more. So after 2 days, the Saturday and the Sunday of watching all that go down, that Monday I made the first TowerGate video, because I said to myself, okay, Trump is not backing down. He is tweeting back and staying strong. He's reasserting exactly what he said, that the previous administration was spying on him. And I said he's obviously would not do that unless he really knew it or had some evidence. So if this is true, and because Trump is sticking with it, he's not backing away from it, I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is true and he's got some evidence. And therefore, I'm going to follow this story, because if this is true, it's bigger than Watergate. And that's how we got here. That was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Unbelievable. Alrighty. Let's see. Had some corn on the cob earlier. I got a few corn things stuck in my teeth, so pardon me if I'm cleaning my teeth as I'm doing my video. Let's get right into it, okay? So we got a lot to cover today, so here we go. Well, here it is from Chuck Ross at the Daily Caller. Glenn Simpson of Confusion GPS met with Jonathan Weiner. Of course, we know that, but here's the important part of the story. Emails show that Glenn Simpson was desperate to meet with Jonathan Weiner. In September 2016, Weiner, of course, served under Hillary Clinton in the State Department. And then when she left to run for president, John Kerry came in as Secretary of State, and Weiner served under him. So Weiner served under both Clinton and Kerry's State Department during the Obama administration. We know that Jonathan Weiner was a source for the Michael Isikoff story. He wasn't named as a source. He was the anonymous source in the Michael Isikoff story. And remember, it was the Michael Isikoff story that first made the revelations of some Trump-Russia collusion, coming right on the heels the exact same day that John Podesta and the Rotten Reverend Clinton tweeted out. Of course, we know that Isikoff was the first to publish Steele's claims about the Trump campaign advisor, Carter Page. And, of course, he didn't name Christopher Steele as the source. He just came out and said basically that Carter Page was being investigated for his ties to Russia. Now, keep in mind, at the time, Jonathan Weiner was the envoy for Libya. When all this was going down in the fall of 2016, the summer of 2016, his position at the State Department was that he was an envoy for Libya. Now, this particular, the emails that we're talking about here, Simpson emailed Weiner on September the 19th and September the 22nd of 2016. And it was about an urgent matter. He was urgent. He wanted to meet with Weiner. Weiner at the time was in Libya. And of course, this was just days before the Isikoff article was published on Yahoo News. Now, the reason that we know about this is because these emails have just been obtained by Judicial Watch from a FOIA request that they did over a year ago. And they've just now gotten the documents. Keep in mind that Jonathan Weiner was also the source for David Corn's article in the Mother Jones story. And again, he was used as an anonymous source. Now, Weiner did admit to meeting with Christopher Steele, but he has never admitted or even talked about meeting with Glenn Simpson, nor did Glenn Simpson ever admit that he met with Jonathan Weiner. But Steele, of course, met with Weiner in Washington, D.C. in the summer of 2016. And at that meeting, Steele told Weiner about the dossier. Then, of course, we had the Sidney Blumenthal issue where Sidney Blumenthal gave Weiner the Cody Shearer dossier. And then Weiner passed that on to Victoria Nuland, who then passed it on to John Kerry, who then passed it on to the FBI. So this is a very interesting thing. What's most interesting about it is that Weiner and Simpson were both grilled in congressional testimony. They've both done Q&As. Neither of them have ever admitted that they talked or spoke or had communication, and especially in the way that we're learning about it now. This September 19 and 22nd emails by Simpson to Weiner about this urgent matter they needed to get together. Simpson did admit to meeting with Steele, but never with Weiner. The same with Weiner. He admitted to meeting with Steele, but never admitted to meeting with Simpson. Why did these two want to keep their meeting and their conversation and their communication and their contacts? Why did they not want to disclose that? It's a very good question. And once again, when you look at this, just as I've said over the past, more than a year now, when you look at all these characters and these dossiers flying around, where they were all going, they're all friends of the rotten Reverend Clinton. That's why I keep saying the Steele dossier was not the Steele dossier. The author of the dossier was the rotten Reverend Clinton and her inner circle of goons. The people who gave us the narrative, the background narrative, would have been Glenn Simpson and his wife Mary Jacoby. They had the background narrative from the stories they were writing for the Wall Street Journal 10 years ago about about Americans working for Russians lobbying in Washington. The narrative is exactly the same. They just plugged in some different names and added some salacious details that were not legit, that were phony, that were fake. So we have Glenn Simpson and his wife Mary Jacoby present the base narrative. Then you've got Nellie Orr, who's tapping into those, doing those 702 queries, doing her thing. And then we learned about 2 weeks ago from John Solomon that she had her own little dossier, taking the exact same stuff that she got from her boss, Glenn Simpson, at Confusion GPS. She put it on a thumb drive. She gave it to her husband, Bruce, who then passed it on to his FBI handler, and right to Peter's been stroking us. Then we have the other dossier, the Shearer dossier. Who's Cody Shearer? Well, he's the hatchet man of the Clintons from way back, a total hack. And he puts together his own little dossier that was a lot like the Steele dossier, a lot of the same things. What are the chances that this guy would have the same sources that Steele would have in London? Very, very unlikely. So Cody Shearer, a confidant and a hatchet man for the Clintons, gets his own little dossier. He passes it to Jonathan Weiner. Or no, he gives it to Sidney Blumenthal. Then Sidney Blumenthal gives it to Weiner. Now, who's directing all this traffic? Who's it benefit? The rotten Reverend Clinton. She's using Shearer to write a little dossier to pass to Blumenthal, who then passes it to Weiner, who then goes and gives it to Steele, after Steele, just months earlier, had shared his dossier with Weiner. Then that dossier finds its way to Victoria Nuland and the State Department, who then passes it on to Kerry, who then passes it on to the FBI. Bam! So here we have the dossier being fed directly into the pipeline, into the State Department by Friends of Rotten Reverend. Pipeline directly into the FBI by Friends of the Rotten Reverend. Pipeline directly into the intel community by Friends of the Rotten Reverend. Everybody in this little pickle here is connected to the Rotten Reverend. If you take all these people and you take a piece of paper and you write their names down in a circle and you draw a line to one person they all have direct ties to, it's the Rotten Reverend Clinton. She's in the center of the circle. It's like a wheel with spokes. She's in the center hub, and all these people directly connected to her. And who would all this benefit? Her. Who is paying for it all? Her. Who has those types of connections that can kind of move these things and pipeline these things like that? Could Blumenthal do it? Could Shearer do it? Could Steele do it? Could any of these people do all that? No. Only one person could do all that. The Rotten Reverend Clinton. More evidence. I'm telling you, when we get to the bottom of this stinking barrel of fish, you will find that the Rotten Reverend Clinton was behind it all. Behind it all. She was motivating every bit of this. She was motivating every bit of this. She was orchestrating every bit of this. She was the conductor of all of this. She's the only one that could have made these things happen. Only one. And she was the one who would have benefited from all these things happening. Why else would all these people go and do all these things? Why would Cody Shearer put together a little Russian dossier? Why would Steele do it? Why would the Simpson and his wife do it? Why would Nellie Orr do it? Why would Perkins Coie do it? Why would these spies do it? The Rotten Reverend Clinton was driving this thing, man. I'm telling you, when we get to the bottom of this, that's where it's all going to lead to. The Rotten Reverend Clinton. Mark my words. Well, it appears that someone on the House Intelligence Committee leaked some documents to CNN, the original fake news network, as the hearings with Michael Cohen were actually taking place. The documents at the time that the hearings are taking place are being passed over to CNN. Not the first time this has happened. And so Michael Cohen is doing his closed session, and all of a sudden documents that he brought with him to the closed session in real time as the hearings are going on are finding their way to CNN. I mean, they didn't even wait till the hearings were over. And these documents had something to do, they apparently were Michael Cohen's personal notes about the Trump, Moscow Trump Tower project. Is there a Trump Tower in Moscow? No. No. So what are they talking about? The damn thing was never built. Who do you think leaked those documents to CNN in real time? Mr. Schiff? I'm thinking Adam the bug-eyed fool Schiff. He's also the guy we suspected that did the exact same thing about a little over a year ago, summer of 2018. Same thing. They're having hearings in a real time while Donald Trump Jr. is testifying. Somebody is sending information to CNN as the damn hearings are happening. And we suspected at that time it was the bug-eyed fool. He's my pick. I hope they can nail that guy's ass. I'm getting sick of him. Normally I laugh at him, but I'm really getting sick of him. He's starting to get in my crawl now. Well, what do you know? Rashida Tlaib has announced plans to file impeachment resolution against Trump. Well, we know that. Remember the night she, in the midterms when she won her seat in that congressional district? And she said, I'm going to impeach the mother effer. She said she was going to impeach the mother effer. So why should we be surprised that she's announcing plans to file an impeachment resolution against Trump? This is going to backfire very badly. So what's going on? I don't have a lot of time to expand on this point because there's too many things to talk about here, but let me try to give you the short version. Okay, most of you know this, but for those of you who don't or who knew, just tuning into my video for the first time, the Commie-crats in the three main committees in the House of Representatives have now subpoenaed about, I forget how many millions of pages of documents from 81 people. They've got a whole team of anti-Trump lawyers, left-wing anti-Trump lawyers, who are going to pore over every line of every document that they get, assuming that they get any documents at all, because I wouldn't give them a damn thing. But some people will probably send documents. They'll pore through all these documents, and they'll try to find anything at all that they can use to give them a reason to have an impeachment vote. Now, they can have an impeachment vote tomorrow, and it's going to pass. They only need a simple majority in the House. 51%, that's it. A simple majority for impeachment in the House. They've got 50 plus 28. I mean, they've got 50% plus they got 28 more than they need. So they got plenty of Democrat votes to get enough. They could do it tomorrow. They could vote on impeachment tomorrow with nothing, and they would get all the votes they need to get an impeachment vote in the House. And that's exactly what they're going to do. But they want to try to find something, obviously. And why is that? Well, here's a little tip for you if you didn't know this. As you know, an impeachment is brought by the House of Representatives, and you only need a simple majority. They've got that, okay? But then the trial is actually held in the Senate. And who presides over that? Well, it is the Senate Judiciary Committee. And the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee is the head guy that runs the impeachment hearing in the Senate. That would be Lindsey Graham. Now, I don't love Lindsey Graham, but I'll tell you, Lindsey Graham has still got a serious knot in his ass over the Kavanaugh thing. He's never gotten over the Kavanaugh thing. He's really pissed. He's looking for any opportunity he can to get back at the Democrats. So keep in mind, it's Lindsey Graham that would actually be the one who would receive the charging document from the House of Representatives with the various charges that he is supposed to hold the trial for in the impeachment against Trump. Now, keep in mind, the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee in the Senate can decline. He can decline the impeachment charges and not hold the hearings. He can decline. That's why the Dems have to try to find anything. But I can assure you, just as Trump said, they're not going to find anything but a bunch of bullshit. And when they get their vote in the House, and get the simple majority, and they send over these articles of impeachment, which are nothing but bullshit, Lindsey Graham's going to look at it and go, well, here's the articles of impeachment. I've read through this, this, and this. Well, I've consulted with the attorneys here in the Senate, and we've determined that this is all bullshit, and I'm not going to move forward with the hearings. I'm going to decline to hold the hearings. At which point, the Democrats look completely crazy. They look horrible. You don't want to have something like this happen. You don't want to have this happen to you. So that's why I say, go ahead, Ms. Tlaib. Go ahead and drop those that impeachment resolution. Go ahead and do it, and let's have the vote. Go ahead. You'll get the votes. Oh, there's plenty of Democrats that will vote right now to impeach Trump. But as soon as it makes it to the Senate, you better have something, because if you don't, you're going to look very, very stupid. Because Lindsey Graham's going to say, this is political. This is bullshit. You ain't got nothing. This is not impeachable crimes, high crimes and misdemeanors. This is political bullshit. I'm not going to run the hearings. I'm going to decline. At which point the Democrats look completely stupid. There you go. Chew on that one for a while. Now, let's move on. Well, the left-wing fake news crank who was part of the dossier plot, David Corn, tweeted out that he saw violent anti-Ocasio-Cortez graffiti on a bathroom stall in a Phoenix airport. He tweeted this out, but he did not take a pic. But shortly after tweeting that out, the airport officials at that airport called his bluff. And they pointed out that this is not true, because as soon as he tweeted that out, they sent all their people to every bathroom in the damn airport to find that graffiti and remove it. It wasn't there. And they also said, hey, we have 24-hour round-the-clock bathroom cleaning crews. And they clean those bathrooms, everyone in the airport, 3 to 4 times a day. And no one reported seeing any graffiti, especially about Ocasio-Cortez, on any bathroom stall. It was all bullshit, just like all the other bullshit. This is a guy who's up to his eyeballs and writing fake news about the dossier. And he's busted again. These son of a bitches, they all need to be thrown in jail. Next, we have Mr. Potato Head. Oh, yes. It's been a while since we've heard from this idiot. So we have John Brennan, Mr. Potato Head, saying that the Mueller report is coming on Friday, and it will include indictments. Maybe against him. No, I don't know if the Mueller report's coming out on Friday or not, and I don't give a damn. But there's not going to be any indictments, okay? You don't have to be a freaking genius to figure this one out. If there were going to be indictments, you would have to have some witnesses. First of all, if there had been indictments, we'd already have them by now. But okay, but you would need some witnesses or something, some fact witnesses or something. And all the people that have been around Trump who have been looked at have either been exonerated, like Carter Page, or they have been charged, like Manafort or Papadopoulos. But all they got these guys on is process crimes. If they had the big fish, these guys wouldn't be doing, process crimes. These guys would have been testifying in the impeachment trial against Trump. They're basically done. I mean, Flynn, Papadopoulos, Manafort, all these guys, they wouldn't have been charged. That case would be waiting for them to testify that, they're closed deals. It's over, But so John Brennan is obviously out of his mind. He's obviously crazy. Is the only thing I can think of. There's no way that the Mueller report, whether it comes out this Friday, next Friday, or God knows when, whenever it comes out, there will not be any indictments of Trump or even Trump Jr. or anyone around Trump. Maybe they'll have indictments against Brennan or Podesta or something. Who knows? Podesta, Mr. Potato Head, you're an idiot. Shut up and go back in your hole. Sick of you until we get ready to put you in lay chains. We'll give you a call then. Well, it appears that sources close to the rotten Reverend Clinton say that she wasn't closing the door. Maggie Haberman. Let's just be honest. Maggie Haberman is saying that that the rotten Reverend Clinton wasn't closing the door on a 2020 run when she answered that question the other day, just as I told you. And she's now saying that she's waiting on the Mueller report. Waiting on the Mueller report. Why? because her and the Democrats think that they can get anything out of the Mueller report, and they can turn it into something. And that's what she will try to use to run. Now, I have another thing for you, too, to chew on about the rotten Reverend Clinton. Keep this in mind. They want Biden to run. I think Biden probably will run. I do think he will run. He's certainly doing things you would do if you were going to run. If he wasn't going to run, he'd be enjoying his retirement. He's not. He's out there doing the type of things you would do if you're going to run. He's already probably been told by the Democratic Party, please save us from the rotten Reverend. We really don't want her. But if you don't run, we got to run the Reverend. Otherwise, we're going to get Bernie. And we don't want Bernie. And we've already got a plan for Bernie. So what happens if, let's just say that Biden doesn't run. Say that Biden doesn't run. They'll find a way to get the rotten Reverend Clinton in there. She's the only one who can, they probably believe, can even... She's the only one that's really a national figure. She's the only one that can raise that kind of money. She's the only one that can kind of get that support. She's the obvious. And if they lose, whoop-de-doo. It was the rotten Reverend Clinton. She always loses. Who cares? We'll start over and rebuild in 2024. Throw her under the bus. We don't give a damn. Just get somebody out there. Just make sure it's not Bernie. But what happens if Biden jumps in there and Bernie kicks his ass? And I think there's a very good likelihood. Even though they say that Biden is ahead of Bernie, as soon as he jumps in, he'll go to be the front runner. But I'll be honest with you. I mean, when you look at where the energy is in the Democratic Party right now, are they going to nominate a 72, 73-year-old white guy who's a old corporate liberal Democrat? No. Bernie is where the energy is. And I'm telling you right now, if Biden and Bernie get into it, I honestly believe that Bernie will, at the very least, get enough delegates to challenge a floor vote at the convention. At the very least, if not just outright beat Biden. And I think that's what the rotten Reverend Clinton is telling the DNC and the corporate donors. I think she's saying, hey, I know you want Biden, you don't want me, but Biden can't beat Bernie. I can. Biden's not willing to do what you have to do to beat Bernie. I am. I'm willing to cut his legs out from underneath him. I cheated him before, and I'll do it again. I know how to beat Bernie. I play dirty. Biden's too stupid to play dirty. He's a dumbass. You need me. Let me tell you something else about the rotten Reverend Clinton. When she says she's not running, she don't have to run. Who says she has to run? You don't have to run a campaign to be the Democratic nominee. The Democratic Party can nominate anybody they damn well choose. You don't have to run in the campaign. Who says you have to run the campaign? You don't. So if Bernie goes out there and beats Biden, then what happens? I'll tell you what happens. If Bernie goes out there and defeats Biden, what they will do is they will drop whatever they got on Bernie, and they got probably a lot, enough to take him down. Maybe they'll find some campaign finance. Maybe they'll find some banking irregularities. Maybe they'll find this. They'll find that. They'll find something. Believe me, they got a hell of a dossier on Bernie. The Democrats do, and they'll use it when they need to. And so if Bernie was to beat Biden, they would probably say, uh-oh, we're in deep trouble. Well, we got to pull out the nuclear option. We got to take out Commie Bernie. Let's take him out. And they've got plenty, believe me. They got campaign stuff. They got real estate financing. They've got various other things. They got all kinds of things they can throw out there. It doesn't even have to be true. They just have to get it out there to cast a big dark shadow over Bernie before he gets to the convention. And then they can step up on the stage at the convention and say, well, you know, Bernie won. He got the most delegates. But, you know, we have a problem now since this story broke a couple of days ago with all these things going on. It's a dark cloud now over Bernie. We can't have our nominee going into the general election with this big dark cloud. So we've made the decision at the senior level here at the DNC that we're going to have to withdraw the delegates from Bernie, and we're going to have to go with someone who we believe can give us a legitimate chance, who doesn't have this dark cloud hanging over their head. And of course, Biden has been defeated and he's done, and everyone else is out of money, and it looks like their very best shot was going to be the rotten Reverend Clinton. And they'll roll Hillary out on stage, and she'll accept the nomination. She doesn't even have to run. She just got to wait till they cut Bernie's legs out from underneath him if he doesn't beat Biden. And Hillary will make sure that Biden doesn't win, because she knows that's her angle to get in. You think that Hillary isn't that devious? Do you think the rotten Reverend Clinton isn't that devious? I promise you she absolutely is. She'll take out Biden as quicker than spit, man. Quicker. She'll stick a knife in his back so fast and make your head spin. Absolutely. The rotten Reverend will sit back and collude and plot with the DNC and the party elders, and they will watch, And if Bernie kicks Biden's ass, and I think there's at least a 50-50 shot that will happen, about a week before the convention, after Bernie's pretty much locked up the delegates, they will come out and drop the nuclear bomb on him. And then they'll say, well, he obviously can't be the nominee. He can't go into the general election with all these problems and this dark cloud hanging over him. And we have to nominate somebody. And it seems like the most likely person to nominate is Hillary. She's back. That's how you're going to get Hillary in 2020. Maggie Haberman. When you hear the phrase, sources close to the rotten Reverend Clinton, it's Maggie Haberman. Let's move on. Meadows and Jordan, Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan, have sent a letter to Christian Nielsen, and they are seeking Obama-era documents from the Department of Homeland Security on Russian election interference. Oh, that's right. The DHS had their own documents. Did you know that? Oh, yeah. And who was over that? Jay Johnson. So now, Meadows and Jordan want to see the documents from the DHS. And you can bet there's some juicy stuff there. You better believe it. And they were probably tipped off by Tom Fitton. That'd be my guess. He's probably seen some of that stuff. He's probably got it. Uh-oh. You want to talk about a dumbass? You want to talk about a real dumbass? How about this South Carolina mayor named Darnell Byrd McPherson? This idiot called the police to report a hate crime. She said that her car was sprayed with a sticky residue. The sticky residue turned out to be bee pollen. Bee pollen. That is a dumbass. And she's a mayor in South Carolina. Doesn't know what bee pollen is. Amazing. Probably didn't realize it was all over every other car and house on the block too. Boy, oh boy. She certainly will be in the running for Dumbass of the Week. The South Carolina mayor who thought her car was sprayed with a sticky residue when in fact it was bee pollen. Holy smoke. I hope she's not the mayor of your town. My goodness. Well, there is major infighting going on in the Democratic Party. We just heard about this a little while ago. Apparently they had a big meeting trying to decide what to do and how to censor this nut, Ilhan Omar, about her anti-Semitic comments. And apparently the meeting turned into a shouting match. A lot of people ticked off, accusing Pelosi of not exercising good leadership because she won't censor Omar correctly or whatever. The meeting turned into a free-for-all. Pelosi's leadership is challenged. And as I said earlier, back after the midterms, I said, let's just watch Nancy try to herd this these wild cats. It's going to be impossible to herd these wild cats. Impossible. And she's finding out now what that's like. She's got a slew of crazy people. And she's crazy as just they are. Imagine that. A crazy person trying to herd the ones who are slightly crazier. What a mess. I told you it was going to be a lot of fun the next year and a half, did I not? We're going to have a blast here. Tune in. Well, we have the National Associates. You talk about the left eating themselves, man. They are eating themselves to death. They'll never make it to 2020. They will have eaten themselves completely to death. They're like little Pac-Men eating each other. So now we have the National Association of Black Journalists, never even heard of them, but the National Association of Black Journalists are now calling for a civil rights audit. A civil rights audit of CNN over their black representation. But they got Don Lemon. They do have Don Lemon. But I guess Don Lemon's not enough. So now CNN is being taken to task by a National Association of Black Journalists for not having enough black journalists on CNN. The left is eating themselves, my friend. They're crazy as hell.